and welcome to my keto kitchen. I'm Victoria. Today I'm going to show you how to make keto bread in a bread machine. Kind of the idea of set it and forget it. However, I'm going to make mine a little bit more complicated because I like the customized setting, because this keto flour, it's gluten-free. I'm using my new standard keto flour 2.0. Also, the Einkorn keto flour is identical, same cup for cup, gram for gram. Here I'm using the new standard keto flour 2.0, but even though the Einkorn keto flour has a wheat in it, it's still considered a gluten-free as far as the gluten structure that's inside of Einkorn. It's not going to rise bread like a regular traditional white flour, modern day wheat. It's not the same. Gluten is different. So we treat both of these flours exactly the same. I don't know how long I will say that the new standard keto flour 2.0 and the Einkorn keto flour are exactly the same. You treat them the same. They're cup for cup, gram for gram. Any recipe that uses one or the other, it doesn't matter. You can use whichever one you want. Follow the recipe exactly the same. This is pretty quick, so we'll just jump in. We're going to do liquids first. The first thing you need, and I've taken the bowl out of the bread machine just so I don't spill things around the bread machine, which is what I typically like to do. For my bread machine, the little paddle, you need to make sure your paddle is in the bowl and that you're ready to go. Also, if you happen to like this bread machine, I'll link it in the description box. The first ingredient is 1 1/2, that's really loud. The first ingredient is 1 1/2 cups of warm water. I warmed it up for 30 seconds. You just don't want it super cold because it slows down the process. Next, 2 room temperature eggs if you can. If they're right out of the fridge, that would be fine. But it is better to be at room temperature. Sometimes I take my eggs and I put them in a glass of very hot water and I just let it sit for 5 minutes and then they're ready to go. Next, we need 1/4 cup of oil. Right here I'm using avocado oil. Use whatever you like. You can even use melted butter. In this, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. And lastly, as far as this right here, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of inulin. Now, I'm going to get a whisk and I'm going to stop there. You do not have to do this. I'm going to do this because I noticed that when I whisk in the inulin and it really dissolves well, I prefer that. So I'm going to whisk it. You don't have to. I'm just doing this extra step. Okay, lastly, we need 3 cups of either Einkorn keto flour or new standard keto flour. 3 cups is, I believe, 252 grams. I will put that on the recipe card to know for sure. All right, there's our flour. Now, I'm going to sprinkle 1 tablespoon of baking powder. The reason I'm going to use baking powder is because I'm also going to put yeast in this, but if you put baking powder gives additional gases as the bread is actually baking. The yeast will give the gases before the bread bakes. So I'm really covering all the bases when I'm adding baking powder and yeast. So the last ingredient, I'm going to put like a little well. I'm just going to dig a hole with my finger kind of down the center of the flour. And I'm going to pour 1 tablespoon of active dry yeast right in the center. All right, now I'm going to put this in the bread machine. Okay, this is important to know. When you're making a gluten-free keto bread or any kind of gluten-free bread, you have to use a gluten-free setting, or you can customize the setting yourself. On this bread machine, I like to customize myself. So the first thing I'll do is I'll knead the dough. When it's finished kneading, it will beep. And then I will tell it to rise the dough. And when it's finished rising, I will bake it, because gluten-free flour will only rise 1 time. If you were to put this on a regular bread machine setting, it will rise it twice. You're not going to get a rise out of your bread if you rise it twice. It's only going to rise for you 1 time. So I'm going to do the customized setting, or If you have a gluten-free setting, which I do have a gluten-free setting on here, but I want to use custom. I haven't done custom yet. And sometimes I feel like it overbeats the dough. So I want to do it the customized way. That way I'm breaking down every level and you know exactly what you're looking for, whatever bread machine that you have. If you have a gluten-free setting, you only want it to beat your bread one time, rise it one time. That's all you need. And bake it and you're done. Okay, so first I am going to knead the dough. That is setting number 8. Go. Nice. Okay, so I will be back for the next setting in 18 minutes. And remember, if you do have the gluten-free setting, you just set it on the gluten-free setting as long as it only kneads the dough and only rises it one time. Set it, forget it, should be just fine when you come back. Okay, so the kneading cycle is done. It's blended it really well. If you want to take a spatula and scrape down the sides, that's fine. I do that too. But it is mixed really well. So now I'm going to do a rise setting. The rise setting on here says 45 minutes. So that's what I'm going to set it at. I have got to learn how to do the customized setting. And it's where you do, I won't have to stand here and click each button. I can just tell it each step that I want it to do and it'll just follow the process. But I'm going to tell you one step at a time because I don't know what kind of bread machine that you have. So I want you to know exactly what my bread machine is saying. So it kneaded the dough for 18 minutes and now it's going to rise the dough for 45 minutes and then I will be back and we will bake it, okay? Be right back. Okay, so the dough has risen. This is how much it has risen. It's risen about 3/4 of the way up the pan in this bread machine. So now I'm going to put it on bake. Okay, now bake says 30 minutes. So that is the option that it's giving me. So I'm gonna push start. All right, be back in 30 minutes. Okay, the bread is done. Now, I baked it twice at 30 minutes, okay? I like to bake my breads for an hour. You'll see a lot of my recipes, the bread bakes for 1 hour. So I baked it twice at 30 minutes. If your bread machine has a 1 hour bake, do that. I have to figure out the customized setting on my bread machine. If you have it, praise the Lord that you know how to do it. I still have to figure that out. So you can use a gluten-free setting, set it and forget it, or do the individual settings like I did here, or you can do a customized setting and just follow the process that I did in this video. So this is our beautiful loaf of bread. Now this hole is from the mixer. You have to stick the tool in and pull out the little paddle, but here is our bread. It's cooled a little bit. Let's cut into it. Let's see what we get. This cuts beautifully. Here is our bread. Okay, so I just cut it really close up so that you could see. It smells so good and it cut so beautifully. It did not crumble, it did not fall apart. It is wonderful. Now, I know in my flour video, my einkorn flour video, I said that I prefer xanthan gum. To be honest, I am changing my mind. The psyllium and guar together make a finished product more dry. Not dry in a bad way, but you know how sometimes xanthan gum can cause excessive moisture inside your baked foods? Psyllium and guar do not do that. They fully bind whatever you're baking, however, they don't leave extra or excessive moisture. Now, we in the New Standard Keto Flour 2.0, we lowered the xanthan gum. So this, it's a dry piece of bread, but well, it's still kind of warm too, but I can still feel some moisture. So when I've made this in the past, I've cut it up and I let it set out on my counter exposed. So I cut all the slices and I just let it set out for about an hour, and then it just dehydrated. It was perfect. However, if you don't want to do that step, you don't want to let it cool and cut it up in pieces, then if you use psyllium and guar, the same amount, you can take the 1 tablespoon of psyllium, 1 tablespoon of guar, and you can substitute it for xanthan gum in the New Standard Keto Flour. That's totally fine. So those of you that don't even like xanthan, the psyllium and guar are becoming my favorite binders when you mix them together. Not separately, they have to be together. They react together in a way that they will not do by themselves. So I have some butter here. This is super good. Yeah, it's very moist still. All right. So we have our slice of bread. Now this toasts really well too, but still it toasts better after it's dehydrated a little bit once you cut it up and let it set out on the counter. Oh, I also love butter. You can put butter on anything and it tastes good. That's good. That's good. There's nothing wrong with this. That's delicious. This is actually the most beautiful loaf that I've made. It's definitely the most beautiful loaf that I've made in the bread machine. I've actually made some really pretty loaves out of the oven, but this tastes very good. If you were to make this recipe with the Einkorn keto flour, follow it exactly. It's exactly the same. Do everything the same, gram for gram, cup for cup. It's the same. I made them so similar that we could do the same things with either flour. As a matter of fact, you see these two? I'll show you. Still kind of hot. This is my Einkorn keto flour vanilla cake. My daughter asked me for a cake for dinner, so sure. So this is my Einkorn keto flour. Oh yeah. Oh. I'm so excited to see what that's gonna taste like, but that's for her. This was for me. This is for me for dinner. That's really, really good. Okay. Awesome. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you make this. Use your bread machine again. Don't let anybody tell you you can't make keto bread in a bread machine, because this is living proof you absolutely, absolutely can. This is a pretty high slice of bread. Like, this is really good right here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. If you want to make this and add a picture or show people what you did, how it turned out for you, in the description box, I have a link over to a Facebook. So I have a Facebook group there where you can take what you've baked and any keto questions that you have about my flours, you can ask those questions over there. See other people's experiences, see what they've made, and some people have come out with some pretty awesome recipes using my different flours. So go over there, you might find something that you really enjoy. And if you have questions and you need some help, that is a great place to ask questions. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for watching this video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please give this video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And you all have a blessed day.